My dad, he was, in terms of punishment, he was abusive. He was like a physical beat you type of guy.
Oh, I get this stuff too.
And so what used to mess me up, and it took me a really long time to understand it, was like my dad really only said he loved me after he beat me.
Oh.
And so I had a very twisted view of what love meant because it only happened at that time. So it took me a long time to like unpack what that even meant. And I found myself in some situations I shouldn't have been in. But to add to that, my son's the opposite. He says it all the time. And I remember early on when he was very small, it took me a long time because I kind of didn't know how to respond because it wasn't my experience growing up. It was foreign. Not that my other family wasn't like that, but specifically with my father. And so he kind of like, my son started to coach me out of that almost inadvertently because he demanded it. So slowly but surely I got more comfortable, and then now we're in this beautiful place where it is very normal. But it took me a while because I had to break this idea of what I was taught for 18 years and then realize like it didn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to feel as uncomfortable as it did. And also that some of the people do have experiences like I'm saying or like you're saying, and some again are more well-adjusted, and so it feels very effortless for them to say that. And I think that that's beautiful, and I wish for more people them to have that type of experience.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So what's your thoughts about the education children with the belt?
Like physical abuse.
I mean,
well, it's
slap someone with a belt or
it's different now. So I grew up in the 90s.
not like on a daily basis.
No, but
in general.
No, in general. So during that time, I mean, it still wasn't permissive. You were allowed to do it, but the rules were like you couldn't bruise
What do
them.
you think as a father?
Oh, me? No, not at all. Like, I learned from that experience that, like, I'll give you an example. This is something I had to process myself in therapy. Again, this is something I teach parents. And I'm going to say in America, particularly Black and Latino parents, these are things that's very much in our culture. So we have to, like, be more sensitive to it because a lot of us have this experience. A lot of us, we're taught to kind of fear your parent. And that's what creates this illusion of control. You do what I say because I'm going to do this, right? So what I had to recognize and what I realized as I got older was it didn't make me respect my father. It just made me afraid of him until I got big enough.
So the only motivation is like the fear of
right. But once they get to a certain age, once I got big enough, then there became this, okay, I'm going to fight back now because I'm not going to take this anymore. So I think for parents out there, when they believe that that's the way to go about it, what I challenge them is I say, listen, what's the lesson? What are you trying to teach them? Do you want them to respect you? Do you want them to come talk to you? Do you want them to come listen to you whenever you want to share something? Or do you just want them to be afraid? Because if you want them to be afraid, then beat them. But if you want all the other stuff that I just said, you cannot do that because you're not teaching them the right way to want to be open with somebody. You talked about vulnerability earlier. Why would I ever be vulnerable with somebody who beats me? Right? That's a pretty easy thing to understand. No person, I don't care if it's your sibling, if it's your boyfriend, your husband, whoever, you're not going to tolerate that. So for some of us, because we grew up that way, we deal with it a bit more until we learn to break that idea in our brain. And so I did. As a father, no, I don't do that because I understand that it's not going to help me become closer to my son. It's going to drive me further from him because all he's going to do is then be afraid of me.
The thing is, like, when parents use physical abuse, it's not because, like, they see it's a parenting routine. It's their way to
siphon that energy.
Like,
let go of shit.
Yes, because like parenting is like quite challenging. You have lack of sleep, lack of money, everything, and when your child is naughty, so like your first emotional, it's easier. It's easier
Of
to
course
beat.
it is.
So yes, it takes courage and it takes maturity not to raise your hand, yes, or belt or whatever,
Yes.
and sit and talk, because yes. So that's why it's
So it's never justified. That's what you're saying.
yes.
I was asking for
yes.
that. Like I will.
I mean, I get it.
Sometimes.
I get it. Trust me. In my family, like, and a lot of people I know, it's really hard for them because, again, when you learn something, when you grow up that way, it's normal. So when somebody says like, "Oh, you shouldn't do that," you're like, "Why?" Like, it works. Or they'll say something like this: "It works. Look at me," right? And I'm like, I don't necessarily agree with that statement because of what you just said, and I know because I've been in that position. The natural reaction,
Yes.
you piss me off.
Yes.
That's why I want to hit you.
Exactly.
But what I ask people, and I ask myself in those moments, what is the lesson? If I just react to you, that's not teaching you good life skills when it is your turn, when you are an adult, when you're out in the world. Why? Because we cannot beat people.
Everyone,
That's how you go to jail, right? So you can't behave in this manner. So why am I modeling this behavior to you that is unhealthy? That's, to me, that's our cross to bear as parents. And yes, I will admit 100%, it is hard sometimes because I learned a way that's not the best. So I have to fight that feeling and recognize, wait, but that's not going to teach him a lesson. All that's teaching him is be afraid. Anytime you make the tiniest mistake, this is what I'm going to come with. That's not good. Like, I don't encourage that for anybody. So I'm speaking to that, having gone through that experience. And I think for so many parents, if they don't challenge that type of thinking, they will have terrible relationships or no relationship with their child when they become an adult because they'll just leave.
Yeah, it's very